That's Coldplay's Adventure of a Lifetime. That could be an autobiography title. One of your many. Elizabeth Day, our guest today, award-winning author, host of the chart-topping podcast How to Fail. And if you know anything about her, you know she is more than all of these things. She's an extraordinary human being. She's honest, unflinchingly decent to share her own personal story. And you're just one of my favourite people, as it turns out. Elizabeth, welcome.
Right back at you,
Yes.
Ryan. Do you think we're each other's kind of favourite people because we've only actually met in real life maybe once or twice?
And yet.
And yet
here we are.
I feel exactly the same. An Adventure of a Lifetime would be a great memoir title, but I first have to do day by day, obviously, because of the old surname.
I know, but I thought that could be your annual calendar.
True. It could be my Christmas round robin.
It could. You're here today to talk about loads of things, but really it's one of us is out now. As you know, I was in touch with you last week to say I'm reading this by the fire in the west of Ireland. And I started reading a few books recently and I just couldn't quite get into them. I don't know why. This had me at the get-go and I was in. I'm keen to tell people that it's a follow-up that you don't need to have read the first one.
Exactly.
It makes sense too, but you don't have to.
Exactly.
It reads on. So what I'll say, we've got so many places to go today, but the book day is most important and to talk about it. Let's pitch it. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
The plot.
So One of Us, you're right. It's a companion piece to an earlier novel I wrote called The Party, which came out in 2017. But look, we all have limited time. We all have so many things to read.
Yeah.
So I was really passionate about making this a total standalone. You do not need to have read the earlier one. But if you have read the earlier one, you will recognise some characters. And One of Us opens in the voice of Martin Gilmore, who for me is the quintessential outsider. He is someone who has spent his life yearning to belong and has never fully got there because he was a scholarship boy at school.
Yeah.
He was from the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
And he became fixated on his best friend, or so he thought, Ben Fitzmaurice, who comes from this wealthy aristocratic pedigree.
Yeah.
And we encounter Martin and Ben again now, several years on from their school days. And Ben is on course to become Prime Minister. They've had a massive falling out.
Yeah.
But unexpectedly, Martin gets invited back into the family fold. And Martin is hell-bent on revenge. But certain things happen along the way that ensure his thesis does not get carried out according to the plan that he had for himself. And along the way, we also meet other characters. So it's a multi-voice narrative.
Yeah.
We meet the character of Serena, who's Ben Fitzmaurice's wife, who is a middle-aged woman who's going through an identity crisis. We meet his eldest daughter, Cosima, who's an environmental activist. And we also encounter Richard Take, who is a failed Tory MP.
Who ends up in a reality TV show, who may or may not bear resemblance to. There are a lot of may or may not any similarities with real characters.
It's very inspired by real life. And,
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
and essentially what it's about why we fall in love with the people who damage us and why we sometimes elect them too.
Yeah, I love it. I was saying to you before we came on air, as an outsider to the UK, I'm observing the class system, the social structures. They're writ large in here. Also, you say, even on your Instagram, your book publishers, I think you're in HarperCollins, you're part of the building here.
I'm part of the family. Yes.
Well, they're great. And as you know, and they said, if you liked Saltburn, if you like Brideshead Revisited, if you like The Talented Miss Ripley, I'm going tick, tick, tick. They're three of my favourites. And here you are, all distilled into a 2025 version of these great stories. No, really, that's how good it is.
I'm so thrilled you said that. And first of all, I'm thrilled that you liked my social media content.
Yeah. No, I did. I thought it was really clever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And those are all my key influences.
Amazing.
So The Talented Mr. Ripley, I was obsessed with the Minghella movie and I subsequently read the book.
Yeah.
I love Brideshead Revisited precisely for our shared obsession about the British class system.
Fascinating. And that was another outsider coming in, Jeremy Irons in the TV show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Go-Between, the novel, that's another...
I haven't read The Go-Between.
Oh, it's so good. You should.
Is that the past?
Yes, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there.
Do you know what? John Boyne picked that in my books podcast. John Boyne picked that as the book that changed his life, and quoted the opening, and very kindly gave me a copy of it. It's in my flat here. I'm going to pick it up tonight.
You will love it.
Great.
It's so good. Is it LP Hartley? I think he did it.
That sounds right.
And I associate myself with those kind of outsiders, which I know sounds ridiculous sitting here as a white middle-class woman with a posh accent.
Yes.
But as you know, Ryan, I actually grew up in the north of Ireland. We moved there aged 4.
You wrote for the Derry Journal,
I wrote for the Derry Journal. It was my first job in journalism. Shout out Pat McCart. And I never fitted in.
Yes.
And then I, like Martin, got a scholarship to a British boarding school and I didn't really fit in there either. And I think that the position of an outsider is a kind of privilege too, because you become an observer.
Yeah.
And so the British class system to me has been fascinating for a long time. It used to be so much more obvious and codified, and now it's insidious and it's beneath the surface. And it's about the semiotics. It's about what we don't say and the symbols and trapping of class. And Martin Gilmore doesn't quite get it. Like, he's tried his hardest to sort of assimilate, but he can't quite, and he'll never fully be accepted.
Because sorry, go on.
Well, it also strikes me as fascinating, and part of the reason I wanted to write One of Us and as a follow-up to the party is because when the party came out in 2017, it was a different political era. We just had Brexit, we just had Trump, and it was like the David Cameron, Theresa May era in the UK. Now we've gone through so much globally.
The past is another country.
The past is another country. And I thought I want to use these characters to examine a different political context. And why, with our obsession with class, there's a sense that we think the people higher up than us will care about us. And that's why we keep electing them to office. And spoiler alert, it doesn't actually work out that well. I was like, what is that about our psychology? And so that was the thing that I really wanted to explore.
You nailed it.
Thank you.
As I'm not surprised you did.
And it's funny too, isn't it, Ryan?
Oh,
it's not deadly serious.
No. I think the Cosmos story is good. But I also quite like the Felicity story, who's Ben's sister, who's there's a tragedy there, the black sheep factor. No, it's all there. The outsider thing is intriguing, and I know in Ireland, or sorry, at least in the UK, people like Eamon Andrews and Terry Wogan became very loved in the UK because after the war, people didn't want necessarily tough accents on the radio. They wanted accents that belonged to people they didn't understand what school they might have gone to or what part of the country they lived in. So these neutral Irish accents allow people to enjoy BBC 4 or whatever it might have been.
That is such an interesting
Isn't
theory.
It? So rather than going, hello, here's the news.
Yes.
You had this kind of soft Irish lilt saying, well, and people listening and going, I don't care where he went to school or college, I just want to hear what he has to say.
Wow, this is a whole other conversation, because I'm also really interested in the two world wars and how they shaped how we remember, and then they shaped society in so many ways. Because after the First World War, there was a massive distrust of the officer class for obvious reasons. And sorry, I know I'm going off piece.
No, that's okay.
Although there is a section about a war memorial in One of Us, because it's one of my particular niche obsessions. It's the Cambridge War Memorial, which is one of my favourites. And it's a post-World War I war memorial. And what they did post-World War I is that they stopped heroising the officer class in statuary. So they started instead paying tribute to the ordinary man, to the ordinary Tommy. Or they started paying tribute to the collective, and they would erect bus stops or community centres in the 1920s. Fun facts for you and your listeners.
You're nerding out. By the way, the launch for your book featured some great photos of Vogue and Spencer, our old friend, and I think I saw Elizabeth Hurley in the middle of it all with her son. That looked like a party.
It was so
I'd say it was
much
real
fun.
Early to bed that night, was it? A cup of cocoa.
I was one of the earliest to bed.
Oh yes.
And I went at like midnight, but it was a riot. So I feel incredibly lucky that because of the extraordinary turns my life has taken, one of them is alongside books, I launched a podcast called How to Fail.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's great.
And I get to interview really amazing people, and some of them actually become friends.
Yes.
So Vogue and Spencer have become really good friends through the podcast.
Yeah.
And I love Vogue. I love Spencer too, but Vogue, she's such a woman's woman.
Well, she's like yourself as well, though. She can have great fun with men and women, and just she's one of those.
She's a great crack.
She is great crack.
Yes. And then Elizabeth Hurley and her glorious son Damien, I was lucky enough to meet on a holiday recently, and again just adore them. And then we had Bear Grylls and his lovely wife Shara, and it was such an epic collection of people.
Quite a COVID-y launch, like just a small select.
It was just a small.
Do you know what I mean?
You'd be relieved to hear we are having a bigger party, but that was just like a pre-launch.
A pre-launch. It's like having a birthday month.
Well, do you know, I am one of those people, nauseating, but also because One of Us is about exclusivity and elitism. And I wanted to poke a bit of fun of that which is that it was a really exclusive, wonderful event, but it was genuinely people that I've been lucky enough to meet who are a really good time, gathered around a table.
What's not to love about it?
Yeah.
Stick around. We've got a few more things we'd love to talk about. Elizabeth Day, our guest today. The book is called One of Us. I loved it. I can't say I'm loving it because I gobbled it up cover to cover. Back in a moment. Day is our guest today. We're talking about One of Us. I've got to say, the character of Serena is so perfectly formed and sketched, isn't she?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm going to agree with you. Yes, she is, Ryan.
Yeah.
Serena was such an interesting one because Serena was a bit part player in the party, and I think if I made a mistake in the party, it was potentially making her a bit too two-dimensional, a bit too villainous. And One of Us gave me the opportunity to render her with more nuance and more sensitivity. And the more I wrote her, the more I really, really liked her. She's a woman who, for a very long time, has attached her sense of self to her beauty. And that's why she's been valued in these aristocratic circles that she moves in. But she's having to come to terms with the fact that she feels her beauty is fading in her 40s and she is going through the menopause and she's having to grapple with all of that at the same time as understanding that because of her social background, she's been conditioned to send all of her kids off to boarding school. She barely sees them and actually she misses them and she's like, have I missed my chance to be a mother? And what was powerful for me about that was not only that I was going through some of the stuff that she was going through in terms of perimenopause. So writing a hot flush when you have one is a kind of great cathartic experience.
Stanislavski School of Writing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was very method.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like I haven't seen this in fiction and I want to write this into the character.
I love that, yeah, because I didn't feel pity for her. I felt sympathy for her.
Great. I love that because she's strong as well.
Yeah, and stoical.
It's also a way of my exploring what it is to mother in the pages of a novel, which is not life experience I have.
No, and you've spoken extensively about not being able to be a mum, and I just think you've done so many people a great service by being so open about a subject that for years lay under the carpet and beneath a rock. And I hope you get the gratitude from people that you deserve for that about the place, and by email or online or whatever it might be. I hope people say to you, I bet it happens quite a lot, does it?
It does, and I'm incredibly grateful, and people are really kind, and I'm deeply passionate about talking about this because, as you say, it was so silent for so many years. Whether you were going through a journey of fertility and you were told by medical professionals that you were failing to respond to the drugs and then you internalised that failure, whether you had recurrent miscarriage as I did, whether you finally got your quote unquote happy ending and have a baby in your arms, I want you to know that you're not alone. And more importantly than that, I want you to know that if you don't get that conventional happy ending, there is hope and peace and fulfillment on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So I did 12 years of fertility treatment. I had 3 miscarriages. And I finally decided 2 years ago to be at peace with letting go of that dream. And I feel really fulfilled and positive about life, and I really want to model that for anyone who is listening.
Well, you do.
To this.
You don't. You say that in an aspirational sense. You do. You do model that. And I was intrigued to hear you went to a psychic. And the reason I liked the fact that the way you talked about going to a psychic or wrote about going to a psychic was you went going, this isn't for me. And you didn't give any details. So it wasn't like there was gonna. I feel that there's a J in your life. I mean, I know that came up, but it wasn't that simple. And the things she said to you, and so we don't have time to get into necessarily that. That's for another conversation, which I'd love to have with you. But you did feel liberated for whatever reason. Exactly.
This was someone who gave me permission to put down the cudgels in a way.
After a long time.
And when you're in a fertility experience, it does feel like a battle. I felt like I was fighting for those 12 years.
War, yeah.
And finally, this was someone who said, actually, maybe it's not meant to be. And maybe your purpose in this lifetime is not to be a mother. And actually just hearing someone say that, because none of my friends would say it because they were being so supportive and loving of every single endeavour. My partner wouldn't say it, again, because he's too respectful. The fertility industry won't say it because they want you to keep having further cycles. So it was the first time someone said it. And actually when she said it, I felt relief.
Wow.
I didn't feel pain, I felt relief. I was like, well, that's interesting.
And you saw a woman the next day pushing her buggy, which is... When you can't have a child, I think you probably see children everywhere the whole time. Everywhere you see buggies.
And every single celebrity is pregnant. Like, no matter how old they are, they're just like, everyone suddenly is pregnant.
But the next day after that, you saw it, and not that you'd be resentful towards everyone else's babies, but you would be kind of going, God, why can't I? Et cetera, et cetera. And then you see this child in a pram and you think, what?
It was literally the day after, and I just thought, good for you. I smiled at the mother and I thought, good for you. That looks really hard work, but I'm so happy for you that you have your baby. And honestly, it was instantaneous. And I did think, I wonder how long this is going to last. And am I in a stage of denial? And 2 years on, 2.5 years on, it has lasted.
Like giving up smoking or something
Exactly.
stupid like that. Just like getting a bad habit out of your life.
Do you know what, Ryan? Because stories are my life.
I know.
And I realise that wasn't my story in this lifetime. It's not my story to be a biological mother in that way.
And did you write this book on a kind of a sort of an outlet of happiness in some way, of relief, of being unburdened? This where it goes full circle in some ways.
Yes, it was almost sort of adrenalised by the idea that I had said goodbye to creating in the conventional procreation sense.
Yeah.
And actually what that did was it freed up this space for me to create this novel. And it's the most fun I've had writing a book because I felt that I was enough just as me.
Wow. I mean, I'm going to leave it there because that is good enough for me. And there's another, I think you've given me about 3 or 4 different potential autobiography titles in the course. Listen, what a pleasure. We know it's a pleasure. I mean,
I love seeing you. Thank you.
Likewise. Elizabeth Day, the author of One of Us, easily one of my favourite books this year, no doubt about it. Really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. Delighted for you. Enjoy one of your launches and see you soon.